Blog Talk Radio.
How's it going, folks? It's Ghost here, once again, with another edition of True Conservative Radio. I know that everybody's out there listening and wondering what in the blue hell happened to the Friday night show and why wasn't I up on here at 9 p.m. Central Time. Well, folks, I was meaning to do a show at 9 p.m. Central Time, but what unfortunately happened, and some chain of events transpired that needed my attention. There was a situation that happened at one of my many establishments that I currently own, and I had to deal with that garbage, and that entailed a whole bunch of rigmarole that I really don't want to get into in this show here, but I'm just going to go ahead and do a makeup show and see what's going on from there. I know that I probably PO'd a lot of people, and I'm sorry for that. I got a lot of emails saying, "Where in the blue hell are you, Ghost?" And unfortunately, I wasn't able to go out and do the show like I normally do, but I thank you anyway for all you folks that came by, listened to the archive show that I did earlier this evening, or I should say earlier in the afternoon. And I wanted to thank all of y'all for checking up on me, seeing if everything is all right. But unfortunately, I had to tend to some business, and well, that's how it goes. But I just wanted to say thank you for everybody and their concern, that sort of thing. Anyway, folks, I may still need to go away. I mean, I'm waiting on a phone call from something or other, and if that phone call comes through, we may have to cut this show a little short. And I'm sorry if that happens, folks, but you know how business goes. Business never goes the way you plan it to go. So everybody, you know how it is. It's the number 646-652-4869 is the number to call. This is a free format show. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, like I stated. Once again, I'm very terribly sorry for not having the show this evening. An incident happened at one of my businesses, and, cops were involved. I don't really want to get into the whole thing about it, but I know there was a lot of people that missed the show, and I'm sorry, and I may still have to jump ship on the show. It just depends if I receive a phone call or not, and if that's the case, well, I'm going to have to go ahead and jump up out of here. I know it's very late in the evening, but business never stops, folks, especially, when it comes to owning your own business. You have to be on top of things. If not, you're going to get into some problems. But anyway, folks, I wanted to thank everybody for tuning in with me here this late evening. I know this is a very late edition of True Conservative Radio. I just wanted to talk about some subject matters that have arose this week. One of the things that has interested me is the hearings on Capitol Hill on baseball. I mean, can you believe this garbage? We've got actual Capitol Hill hearings on baseball. You have this ridiculous buffoon, Roger Clemens. They drug this moron from the baseball field to some congressional committee to testify, and this idiot was trying to get up and say that he had nothing to do with steroids, even though he had somebody sitting right next to him saying that he injected him in the ass with these steroids. As a matter of fact, the guy that injected him in the ass with the steroids actually kept the needles, actually kept all the cotton. This guy was a sick puppy, whoever's saving this medical waste. But I just find it funny. Here we are. We're in a transition period from democracy, republic, to a socialist, communist society. And all these nimrods can do on Capitol Hill is hold hearings on baseball? Are you kidding me? And on top of which, you got Arlen Specter that interviewed the NFL commissioner, because apparently, I guess this is drawing the attention of Capitol Hill too, folks. Apparently, Bill Belichick, which is the coach of the Patriots, which are supposed to be the best team in the NFL that recently got their asses handed to them here in this past Super Bowl, apparently what has happened, or allegedly I should say, what has happened, Belichick, who was caught earlier this season for videotaping a rival team's practices, which is against, I guess it's against the NFL policy, but it's damn cheating, however you want to look at it. And what happened? Well, allegedly, Bill Belichick had been doing this the whole damn time. And what Arlen Specter, instead of focusing on the people's agenda at hand and all those other nimrods out there in Capitol Hill, instead of focusing on bettering our society and focusing their attention on bettering the American people's lives, no, they're delving into baseball. They're delving into football. All right? I mean, look, if you're somebody who likes to watch sports and you think that that's an actual competition, you don't know your ass from your elbow, okay? I mean, the integrity of all sports is ruined. You know it. I know it. Everybody knows it. There's not one sport the integrity has been lost. You got baseball with this steroids issue crap, and, you know, and I know there's a lot of baseball fans out there, and I'm sorry. I don't think baseball's a sport. These morons out here are getting paid millions, hundreds of millions of dollars to hit a damn ball. Something I can do. And people, if I can do it, then it's not a sport, okay? I mean, if I can do it, it's not a sport. But the bottom line is that we are just dedicating way too much time on Capitol Hill to these ridiculous sports figures. And I think what Capitol Hill needs to do is focus more attention on the policies at hand to help the American people. And instead, you got Arlen Specter wanting to throw, and remember, folks, when these people are in committee, when they're calling these idiots to testify in front of the committee, it's tax-paying dollars that these people are spending. I mean, they're sitting there, you know, spending our tax money for what? For what? I mean, yeah, I mean, if you don't know that Roger Clemens, you know, shot steroids in his ass, you know, and he got shot in the ass with steroids by other men, I mean, you're a moron. I mean, this man defied the laws of aging here. He got better as he got older, and you just don't do that. You just don't do that. But I think it's absolutely sick that we've got Capitol Hill over here spending time, effort, tax-paying dollars, the whole 9 yards on looking into the integrity of sports. Look, I know the integrity of sports is ruined, all right? You got the basketball referee idiot orchestrating games, and if you didn't think that they were orchestrating games in basketball, you're a damn Nimrod. Then you got Belichick over here, which Arlen Specter is going to throw a congressional hearing about that garbage of the NFL. Belichick taping the other team's practices. That sort of garbage, and you got the baseball incident, and, of course, boxing's always been corrupt. I mean, bottom line is, folks, if you think that there's integrity in sports, I got some oceanfront property to sell you in Kansas, all right? I mean, give me a break. Anyway, folks, that's one of the things that was on the agenda on most of the media throughout the week. If you want to chime in on anything at any time in this program, you're more than welcome to call. 646-652-4869 is the number to call. Give me a call up. Let me know how you feel about this ridiculous garbage. I mean, here we have all kinds of problems in America. We got a weak dollar, first of all. We've got an absolute weak dollar. You got people in New York, you got shopkeepers and business owners in New York City right now that are no longer taking the American dollar. You know that? Yeah, and these are American business owners that are no longer taking the American dollar. You know what they're taking? Euros. Yeah, they're taking the damn euro. And let me tell you something. I think that all those business owners that are turning their back on the American dollar should have a boot shoved so far up their ass crack that they'll be pooping out leather for the next 10 years of their life because they're basically spitting on our country for doing such a thing. But the point is that we do have a problem with our weakening dollar. And the reason we have a problem is because we're just accumulating massive amounts of debt, okay? You got the American people barely able to feed themselves and their families because the American jobs have went out of the country. Okay, they're going to China, they're going to Mexico with all these ridiculous lopsided, imbalanced trade agreements that America's basically put themselves into, which we need a president and a Congress that are going to reevaluate these trade deals and put these idiots that we're trading with back on the negotiating table and tell them, wait a minute, you're not going to screw the American person any longer. And on top of the fact that all the American jobs are leaving the country, you've got illegal immigrants. 20 million illegal immigrants that are basically devaluing the cost of labor that none of these candidates in the president that are running for president, want to acknowledge. As a matter of fact, they want to give them a free green card, for Christ's sake. And I don't understand it, folks. It seems to me like most of these candidates that are on, all of them, excuse my French, but we're on late, so if you can't take a few curse words, well, sorry. I really don't curse that often, but let me tell you something. What the way our country is headed, it's making me want to curse up a storm. It's making me want to curse up like a sailor, because we are seeing the systematic transition from our democratic republic that we've come to know and love, the land of freedom. We are seeing a systematic transition of power into a quasi-socialist communist government. And if you don't believe me, you just take a look at these pieces of trash running for president out here. You take a look at Barack Hussein Obama, Hillary Rotten Clinton on the left. All of them are blatant Marxists, okay? I mean, just look at their platform. Look at what they're running on. Look at what they want to initiate as bills. And then on the right, let me tell you something. You got John Turncoat McCain, who not only is he a blatant social liberal, but just look at the pieces of legislation that this man passes. He wants to give amnesty to illegals. I mean, he basically wiped his dirty ass crack with the First Amendment, with McCain-Feingold. I mean, just look at this man. This man is just ruin. First of all, he's ruined the Republican Party, because I'm no longer a Republican. I'm a lifelong Republican, folks, and I've been alive a long time. But I mean, let me tell you, the Republican Party flushed conservative principles down the tubes, okay? They have flushed conservative principles down the tubes, and you think like I'm going to act like most of these Republicans, that I'm getting criticized. I'm getting criticized because I'm sticking to my conservative principles, because I believe in the American family. I believe it should be saved. I don't believe that these social ills that have turned into the social norm should just be accepted. Bottom line, they just shouldn't be accepted. People having 4, 5, 6, 7 different kids from 4, 5, 6, 7 different partners. We shouldn't accept that, folks. We shouldn't accept folks going out and treating marriage casually, having about 5 or 6, 7 different divorces and thinking it's okay. It's not okay, damn it. And on top of which, we need to do something about this immigration problem, okay? Because it is hurting the American family. I mean, we don't produce anything as a country anymore anyway. I mean, the only thing we produce is entertainment and cheeseburgers. That's the only thing we produce as an American economy. And that isn't going to cut it. That isn't going to cut it, because let me tell you, all the jobs that are here now, all of the jobs that are available to American families to go out and support their families with, all the jobs are being undercut because you got 20 million illegal immigrants that are in this country illegally, that are undercutting the average everyday working person, because they'll do the damn job for 25 cents on the dollar and be paid under the table. And you expect the American person to compete not only with Red China, who's utilizing communism to extort cheap slave labor out of their population. Not only do we have to compete with the third world of Mexico, we have to deal with 20 million illegal immigrants that are devaluing the cost of labor and lowering the cost of living for the average everyday person. And that's something that the Republicans at this point are willing to accept. That's something that obviously the Democrats have embraced all along, but that is something me and real true conservatives aren't going to accept. And that's why I am not voting for McCain, and I've been criticized. I have been insulted. I have had personal attacks thrown at me by Republicans, folks. Republicans, Republicans that used to believe in actually debating about the issues, talking about things. And now they're resorting to the same methods of agitation as those on the left of the political persuasion. Because I won't turn my back on my conservative principles and vote for this social liberal piece of trash, John McCain, and I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. Anyway, folks, you can give me a call right now. The number is 646-652-4869. We've got a caller here, and we're going to go ahead and put them on the air. Let me go ahead and click it right here. The damn switchboard's not working very well. Uh-oh, it's logged me out of my switchboard, folks. Hold on just one second. I'll get back to you. Hold on just a second. It's logged me out of my switchboard. And, of course, this is typical Blog Talk Radio technology here. No offense, BTR. Let me just log back into this switchboard and take this call here. 910, you're on the air.
Personally, I don't know where to start.
Okay.
Everything you said up to this point, I completely, 100%, totally agree with you. I couldn't be in there more, and personally, I feel like that should be something that's brought to more people's attention, and the first damn thing that needs to get out is political correctness. That's the first thing that's kicked us in the ass. You can't call somebody who, personally, I don't care if I hurt their feelings because I have someone in my family who is quote-unquote retarded. I don't believe in physically challenged. I don't believe in handicapped. They are what they are because that's what they were made as. And the point that you're bringing up about illegal immigration, that has completely touched North Carolina to the biggest point and everywhere up to this point. It is something that is crippling. It's not even really crippling the economy. It is just flat out damn killing us.
Absolutely, and I'm seeing it. I'm from Texas, and I'm seeing it. I'm right here at the border, and I'm seeing it firsthand. You're seeing American families. These are people that have generations that have fought and spilt blood for this country that can't even support themselves or their families because not only do they have their jobs being shipped out because of our imbalanced trade deals that we have with other countries, and whoever signed them should be kicked in the nuts, to be honest with you.
Flat out. I'm a 28-year-old combat veteran. I got back from Iraq from a 15-month tour in 2005.
Oh, I thank you for your service, sir.
Now, thank you, sir. I cannot find a damn decent job around here because of that equal opportunity employer. The equal opportunity should be for the damn man that'll get his ass up on time and go work for an honest day's wage. These people are killing us. They're crippling the economy, and there's nothing that anybody on Capitol Joke Hill is going to do anything about it.
No, they're not going to do anything.
They're going to try to play to those people. They're going to try to play to the so-called minority. There has not been not a single one whip cracked on an African-American's ass, on a black person's ass in 200 years. I don't know a damn thing. My grandpa don't know him a damn thing. I don't know nobody nothing except for what I earned for myself. And taking God's name off the money, taking the prayer out of schools, that was the first mistake that we let go through.
I agree. And let me tell you, that's why you're seeing the social ills of society becoming the social norms out here. The American family is being systematically destroyed because we have a government that's embracing it. I mean, do you see them giving the amount of tax money? I mean, we just went through January 1st tax season, the whole 9 yards, and people are getting their tax returns, or tax refunds, and I mean, is the American family benefiting because they're actually keeping the family unit together? No. You know what they're doing? They're paying off females that literally have 6 or 7 kids from 6 or 7 different fathers. They're giving them $2,000 a kid. And that's on top of all the government subsidies that these females are collecting because this is the damn system we live in. We're embracing the systematic destruction of the American family, and on top of which, we're seeing the systematic destruction of the economy. And I don't know why nobody's talking about this. People, and I try to talk to everybody, both on the right and the left. The left, you could forget about the left. These people are just imbecilic jerkasses. I mean, you've got people. You have people calling my show saying that they're going to vote for Barack Obama, not because of what he talks about, not because of his issues, because he's got nice teeth. I mean, seriously. I mean, I had one woman say he's got nice teeth. I got another one that says, I like his change. But I mean, there is no platform that this man has been.
Well, I got a nice ass that all of them can kiss.
I'm telling you, it's sad.
A perfect example. I had someone close to my family. A close friend of our family, his sister was murdered, brutally murdered, premeditated. The man beat her to death with a hammer and threw her in a pond in the backyard. They gave him life in prison and reverted it over to the death penalty. That guy has been sitting there waiting to die for 20 years. I think what the Iraqi government did to Saddam Hussein whenever he was convicted of death is took his ass straight from the courthouse to the gallows and hung his ass. And that's what they should do over here. They're wasting so many billions and billions of dollars feeding these jackasses that have raped our children, that have stolen our money, just completely destroyed everything that we tried to help found and build as Americans.
Well, that's because unfortunately prison is a private enterprise, and I've been critical about those that are making money off of the prison system. That's the reason why it's prolonged, sir. That's why they don't want to kill these guys off like they should. They want to collect. I think right now it's 40,000 an inmate. If you own a prison, 2,000 capacity, and you know they always go over capacity, so you multiply 40,000 times 2,000. I mean, that's serious money. And that's why they're not closing down the prison systems, that's why they're not executing the people they need to execute. You know, child molesters, people who murder people just out of heinous, ridiculous motives. I mean, I just don't understand where our country's going. And on top of which, we have a police system, at least where I'm from. You got a police system that actually gives breaks to hardened, revolving door criminals. And if you come across an officer of the law nowadays and you have a clean record, such as I do, and you have nothing on your record, not even a parking ticket, they will try to look for something to get you into the system. Have you noticed this, sir?
I have, and it happens around here in North Carolina every day. Every day.
I mean, what is going on? I mean, do they want, the entire American public into the system? I mean, police officers are supposed to commend citizens that, have clean records, that oblige themselves to the law and put the law at a high regard. And I see it all the time. They come across these either prostitutes, drug dealers, burglars, whoever it is. They'll catch them, and then they'll just let them go. They'll be like, oh, well, just don't do it again. Get out of here. But when it comes to somebody who's a law-abiding citizen who has no record whatsoever, what do? They try to look for something to put you in the system. And I think that this is a ridiculous mentality that we're getting into. I think our country's just going down the tubes, man. I mean, it's just going down the tubes. We're going into a socialist communist society. And any candidate, I really don't care who you vote for at this point as far as the presidency is concerned. All these people want more government. They want more entitlement programs. I mean, they want amnesty for all these illegal immigrants that came into this country illegally, that are devaluing the cost of American labor, that are taking food away from the American family, for people that spilt blood for this country, that went out and fought, man. I just don't understand why.
That's the reason why I'm so pissed off.
I don't blame you, sir. I really don't blame you. I mean,
freedom of Americans. If anybody wants to come and visit, you're more than welcome. But once you've seen the sights, you take your pictures, get the hell out.
That's the way I see it, too. I mean, we need to get these 20 million people that are in here illegally and get them the hell out of the country. And I don't care where they're from. I don't care if they're Mexican, if they're a damn English tea-drinking piece of crap. I don't care what they are. If you're in here illegally, get the hell out of the country. And that's my opinion.
That's the problem. They've more or less just accepted everybody. We have an open-door policy. Because they're bringing in more of the guns, they're bringing in more of the drugs that's going to corrupt our children. And I'll tell you one thing, I'll be damned if they bring it to our neighborhood, which we've done a pretty good job of keeping it out, but eventually it's spreading in because the major towns that are all around us in the major cities are starting to overstock and fill up. I'm a God-fearing man. I go out and I pay my taxes, and I can't even go to the damn Chevrolet dealership or the Ford dealership or any of them and buy a ride. But you can see an illegal immigrant walking around on 22 skating on rims. He's got some of the nicest damn things you've ever seen, and I'm working from paycheck to paycheck trying to survive with my wife and 2 children. And it is just flat out damn killing us. And by the time that everybody wakes up and realizes we made a mistake, it's going to be too late. It's going to be the United States of Mexico again.
Hey, you know what? It's getting down to a point where I don't know where this country's going. I am very concerned. This coming election is going to be a very important one. And we have nothing but blatant liberals on the right and the left, blatant liberals that want to put more government regulation down our throats, who want to put more bureaucracy in power. I mean, don't these people understand that anything the government touches falls to crap? I mean, just look at our public education system first and foremost, and that'll give you a good whiff of what government has done. They have dumbed down our generations. They are completely oblivious to the fact that we are having serious problems here in America. They don't care. They don't care about all the illegals that are in here illegally devaluing the American work ethic, or the cost of labor. They don't care that, no longer is the American family the social norm anymore. It's not the norm. Single-parent families are the norm of the day. I mean, I watch television with my granddaughters and my grandsons, and what do I see on Nickelodeon, or excuse me, not Nickelodeon, Disney Channel? I see The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, two twin boys that are living with their single mother in a hotel because she's a damn lounge act singer. And this is the kind of crap that they're feeding into America, and I just don't want to stand for it. And I've been criticized by Republicans. I've been criticized. I always get criticized by left-wing long hairs. I could care less about that. But by Republicans, because I want to save the American family, because I love America, I just don't understand where this country's going. I mean, because I believe that, we should still have American sovereignty and not have a bunch of illegals floating around undercutting American labor. I just don't understand why more people aren't mad as I am. And you are.
They've cut their own damn balls off because they're afraid they might lose a vote here or there. They're afraid they might step on somebody's toes. They're afraid, you know what? This country needs to be pissed off. They need to have a boot stuck up their ass and understand that what the hell they're doing is wrong. They're letting too many queers and too many atheists and too many minorities stand up for something that's not even there. They've lost their moral conviction. They need to go back, sit back. I don't even know if any damn one of them has a mirror in their house because I don't know how the hell any of them can look at themselves at night and know that they've done a good job. That's something I pride myself on. Whenever I put myself down at night to go to sleep, I know that I've done my best that day. I know that my wife loves me, and I know that my children respect me. And the last thing that's ever going to happen is if I'm ever going to let anybody come in and take that away from my family.
And let me tell you something. I didn't mean to cut you off, sir. I just wanted to say that that is what I'm talking about. And I commend you, sir, for sticking to conviction, sticking by your principles, believing in the American family, believing in your family, because that's what it's all about. You see, it was the family that makes people, gives them the drive, the motivation to go out and work 15 hours a day if necessary, get their nails dirty, put clothes on their families' backs, food on the table, roofs over their heads. But now you have a government that's perpetuating a single-parent family lifestyle that it only perpetuates an entitlement society. Because when you have a single parent, I mean, why should they be motivated to go out and work and get their nails dirty when they can go and have the government give them everything from welfare to subsidized housing to government cheese to $2,000 a kid at the end of each year? I mean, what are they giving to the American family? Absolutely nothing. And it makes me sick, man. It makes me sick that you have families that are just going down below the poverty line out here, not because of their own regard, not because they don't want to go out and work, because they can't, because the jobs have left this country because of imbalanced trade deals, and you've got illegal immigrants in this country devaluing the cost of labor to a point where it's unlivable. I mean, these illegal immigrants will live about 80 people in a one-bedroom apartment and eat like a bowl of rice a day. And these people will legitimately work for $2.50, $3 an hour. How is an American family gonna compete with that? They can't.
I give you a perfect example. I went over to Iraq and I busted my ass as hard as I damn could to get back home, and I felt like I was honestly doing something to make a change, something that my grandchildren can go off and tell somebody, you know what, I'm proud of my grandpa because he went out, he fought for our country, he shed blood. I still got shrapnel stuck in my leg from that damn place. And then I come back over here, and the little bit of money I did have that I saved up, which, mind you, on a footnote, I go over there, bust my ass for 15 months, and I only make $30,000 to $40,000, but you can take a contractor to sit on his ass and make $120,000 a year. I come back home, take my little bit of money, and finally buy me a nice truck, something I've always wanted, something I worked damn hard for. So proud of it. And then an illegal immigrant comes in and slams in the back of me down Highway 41, here where I live in Bladen County, North Carolina, slams in the back of me, totals my damn truck. I lose $35,000 because that son of a bitch did not have any damn insurance. And you think for 1 second that his ass went to jail, that he paid any money out of his pocket? Hell no. That son of a bitch probably right now is sitting somewhere drawing Medicaid or some other government-funded local medical insurance, and he's probably sitting on his ass getting disability right now.
Of course.
I'm still having to try to find a job.
I'm sorry to hear that, sir. You know, that is just a poor, it's just a poor example of how our country is treating our military at this point. I mean, you just came back from a tour in Iraq. You fought for your country. You did your job out there, which I thank you very much, sir, for doing, by the way. But it just makes me sick. Once again, this just reinforces my fact that the American, the average everyday American family, the American person, is being shafted by their own American government. And I don't understand why no one else is talking about this. You know, I'm the only one on BTR that actually acknowledges the fact that the Republican Party is no longer for the average conservative anymore. I mean, they wiped their ass with the conservative movement. As a matter of fact, they don't care. They don't care about any of the conservative principles anymore. You got John Turncoat McCain. He's only 2 issues away from being a full-blown liberal, and let me tell you which one they are. First of all, he says he's pro-life, which I don't believe. Okay, and secondly, he's for the war, and he wants to prolong the war. He wants to go out and go into Pakistan, Iran, Syria, which I'm not against. But you see, how are we going to go out and implement democracy? Because that's exactly what we're doing here in Iraq. Is we're trying to implement democracy, sow the seeds of democracy in the part of the world that's been subjugated by tyrants and theocratic nut jobs. How are we going to go out and continue to perpetuate democracy when we have candidates, whether it's McCain, whether it's Barack Hussein Obama, whether it's Hillary Rotten Clinton, whoever it is? How are we going to perpetuate democracy when we're having democracy taken away right here in America? I don't understand how we can continue, especially with John McCain. He wants to prolong the war and extend it, when I know for a fact this man is going to put more bureaucracy, more government regulation. He's already wiped his ass with the First Amendment with the McCain-Feingold bill. I just don't understand how you're going to be a maverick, so to speak, and yet you're a blatant liberal that's taking away our own democracy. I just don't understand that.
I completely agree with you.
I mean, it's a shame that real conservatives like Fred Thompson, Duncan Hunter, these people were shut out of any type of mainstream media press because of the Republican Party. They were shut out of a platform, a legitimate platform on debates. They were shut out on the foundation of fundraising, and that's why their candidacies were pretty much short-lived, because the Republican Party didn't want them to be a part of the Republican race, in my view. I mean, they were embracing all these liberals, all these blatant social liberals. The Republican Party were putting them on a pedestal. And I don't understand why no more Republicans are just as upset and red-faced as I am.
Because they're all wearing blue underwear.
It's obvious. I know
every single one of them. They try to deny it as much as possible, but every single one of them has got their hand in somebody else's cookie jar, somebody's pad in their pockets, and it's just damn pathetic. It sincerely is.
It's just horrible.
Whenever
go ahead.
My niece gets threatened to be suspended from school because she wants to pray before she eats her dinner. Because she wants to pray.
Oh, my God. You got to be kidding me.
No. I shit you not. These are the kind of issues that we're dealing with around here. And I wouldn't be surprised if somewhere in the near future, all the products that we buy, I would not be surprised if I go down to the Ford lot and the damn emblem on the truck is written in Spanish. And I have to have an English subtitle put on it. Because that's what it's going to. I guarantee you that you cannot go down there anywhere in the United States now and find something that don't have Spanish on it. This is America. If you want to bring your ass here, you damn sure better learn how to read and write our language or get the hell out.
I agree. I mean, I completely agree, and I don't understand why we're just accepting this. And it goes back to what I've been stating all along, my whole life. And I've always been against public education, because public education has been infiltrated by liberals and feminists, and that's why
because they're telling you what they want you to know.
Exactly, and this goes to your point that you were suggesting earlier about political correctness. Political correctness is being used as a tool by all these liberals and feminists to basically, not only dumb down our society, but it seems to me, and I've stated this many times, everybody knows my position on this, they have emasculated the American male to the point where it's asserted the absolute pussification, all right? The absolute pussification of the American male. And I'm not saying all of them are like that, But anybody who comes out of public school, because of all the political correctness, because, you know, they don't want elementary school kids to play tag anymore and dodgeball or anything that'll get them hurt or hurt anybody's feelings, you know, you got such an emasculated generation, in my view. If you just take a look at MTV and look at the rock stars and look at how, I mean, half of them look like they just popped out of the ass crack of Ricky Martin, for Christ's sake. And this is the majority, though. This is the majority of the. Oh, go ahead.
That's where the phrase that made me sick that I heard as recent is, I believe it's metrosexual, where you're not. You know, I'm not even going to be politically correct. If you're not,
no, you don't have to.
If you're not a faggot, but you want to act and dress like one, then they call it metrosexual. If you're still attracted to women, you know, so where I'm from, you walk outside wearing mascara, you're going to get your ass beat. Because that just ain't right.
And let me tell you, I'm here in Texas, okay, and I just go out to the malls, you know, just to go out and do my regular shopping, that sort of thing. I have a couple of businesses that I own out here, and every time I see a younger male, anywhere between the ages of, you know, teenage adolescence to about a little bit under 30, the majority of them, I mean, just have physical feminine attributes that are so prominent. And their walk and the way they talk. I mean, what the hell's happening here? I mean, what the hell is happening? I mean, whatever happened to being a man, damn it? Going out and busting your ass.
We'll both know. You tell me and we'll both know. I'll be damned if I'm going to walk out and somebody's going to shake my hand and feel like they're touching a damn satin pillow.
I agree.
If somebody's going to shake my hand, I want to know that they've been somewhere. You can tell everywhere a man stand by his handshake.
And you're not going to see it in this day and age. And let me tell you, it's really sad. I mean, you know, I hate to define, but you see, a group is defined by its majority. And this is why I make blanketed statements like that, because, I mean, when you're defined by your majority, that's what you're defined as. I mean, it's just all there is to it. And right now, in this day and age, and I don't mean to speak for all young men, because there are a lot of badasses that are still out there that are fighting in this war in Iraq, that are out there in Afghanistan doing what they have to do, and they're younger gentlemen, they're out there kicking ass. But, I mean, everybody who didn't sign up, and everybody who's just out there just walking around half fruity, I mean, this is what's happening out here. It's turned into the social norm, and I don't understand why this has happened. Why? I know why it's happening. I don't understand why America has allowed it to happen, is my stance on that. I mean, why have they allowed this to happen? Nobody's talking about it.
I've searched myself for that question so many times, and I just can't understand it. You know, I walk out, and you've only got just a very few of us left, and people are calling us the conspiracy theorists.
Misogynists.
They're calling us the fanaticals.
Yeah,
so,
misogynists.
I cannot walk down the damn street without
seeing
some damn kid with a floppy-ass haircut wearing mascara, or some little punk ass that's got his pants down below his damn waist. And it's just a little footnote. Do you know where that came from? Honestly, I was watching the History Channel, and it was so interesting, and I wish that they would show it in public school, that the guys that were in prison, whenever they would walk around with their pants sagging and their underwear showing, was basically a sign to the other inmates that, hey, this is an easy piece of ass, come and get it. And that's the first thing that crosses my mind every time I see him walking around. And personally, the way I am, every damn hat that I've got has got a bent bill. And I wear a hat to protect my eyes from the sun. Not because I'm trying to look like some flat-billed jackass that you see on MTV.
I hear you, sir. I'm telling you, I mean, socially we're in a mess. Economically, we're in a mess, and politically, we're in a mess. And yet, if you go to any other of these blog talk radio shows or any show on the Internet, they think it's just fine and dandy out here. Both Republicans and Democrats, they think it's just great. They think we're living in the greatest society right now. And look, I'll acknowledge the fact that we do still, before any of these candidates are elected president, we do still live in a great country. The greatest social experiment on the face of the planet. But the more and more we see our dumbed-down generation, the more and more we see more illegal immigrants basically dissolute American sovereignty, the more and more we see our jobs being left for places like communist China, who are exploiting their own people for labor on, 10 cents an hour, for 15, 20 hours a day. I mean, how are we going to compete with that? How come nobody is talking about these issues out here? They're more worried about, whether their candidate, talks good about education. Screw education, man. Let's talk about fixing this country for a little bit. We're already all dumbed down as it is because of this public education system. Why don't we talk about saving America, saving the American family, kind of rectifying the social ills of people having 6, 7 different children from 6 or 7 different fathers, people having 6, 7 different divorces, people out here that are just losing their jobs, if it's not to China or Mexico, to an illegal immigrant that would do it for 25 cents, 20 cents on the dollar. It's ridiculous, man, and nobody wants to talk about it. Every time I go into any one of these shows, it doesn't matter who it is, whether it's, I usually go to right-wing shows because, there's no use to arguing with the left. The left is just completely anesthetized with propaganda that they don't know their ass from their elbow. But every time I go,
arguing with a drunk, pissed off lesbian.
Yeah, exactly. And let me tell you, I don't understand. I go into every one of these Republican BTR shows and shows on the internet, and I always try to, tell them to talk about these subjects, and they don't want to. They could care less. And I don't understand why. The Republican Party used to be about conservative principles, saving the American family, instilling integrity back in America. Now they don't care, and I don't understand. I didn't get the memo. I didn't get the memo that this was, no longer the premise for the Republican Party. I didn't get the memo that, the Republican Party was just going to bow down to liberalism, that they're just going to oblige themselves to a quasi-socialist communist ideology. I never got the memo on this, man. It seems like it just happened right before my very eyes. Did I miss something?
They're giving too many people like Louis Farrakhan, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton. They're giving too many of these damn fanatical jackasses a stance and a podium for people to listen to them and understand them. The biggest damn slap in the face and kick in the nuts that I've heard as of recently was whenever Hurricane Katrina was coming around and that stupid-ass mayor getting on TV telling people that they need to turn it back into a chocolate city. What the hell is that?
That was the most. If you're talking about, these left-wingers are talking about political correctness. I don't understand why they didn't take a goddamn political correctness jab at that ridiculous Ray Nagin for saying such a heinous comment.
No, let's be honest here. Let's be honest here. If that happened in a majority white city and a white man got up there and said that, what do you honestly think would happen? They would have lynched his ass. They would have, the same thing they did to Amos. Exercise was free speech. I don't personally listen to Amos. I give 2 shits less about whatever he's got to say. But the guy gets on there and he cracks a joke. They fire his ass. He's got to apologize. He's got to have a black man on his radio show. And it's not about black or white, but it's about them. They keep talking about racism and racism and racism. They are the ones who keep bringing it up. They're the ones who keep perpetuating the event of racism. When I was in Iraq, I didn't give a 2 damn flying shits less who was fighting beside me. The only thing that I knew is that soldier had my ass and I had his. It got to the point the only color I saw was the color of our uniforms. It was a common goal and a common bond. We all stood and we fought together to get home. We lost a lot of them, but a lot of us came home. And then we come back to this bullshit. You know what? I honestly enjoyed it over there, not because of the fighting, but because we didn't have to deal with shit like that. We knew what was trying to kill us. We knew what we had to do to fix that problem. We went out every day. And I just cannot watch CNN because they show everybody what they want them to see about Iraq. They show them what they want to see about this other shit. It is completely different than what these people are reporting.
How is it out there, since you have a first-hand perspective of what the ground out there in Iraq? What's it look like out there? Is it turbulent? Does it look progressed? Give us your insight.
It's all a turbulent area to me. Because war is hell, and that's just basically what comes along with it. But there are people there who care about us. There are people there who really want to make a difference, who really want to get up and just do the things that they were supposed to do the right things.
Sure.
A perfect example, I'm having a brain fart as we speak. There was a group of people around the city of Twos, and it might as well have been here in America. These people would have given you the shirts off their back. We couldn't understand them damn well what they were saying, but you can tell true, honest compassion and gratefulness that every time we go outside the wire and we were helping these people, they would try to bring us gifts. They would that would try to make our jobs as easy as possible.
That's great to hear.
The Shiites and the radicals, I mean, these are just shitheads coming from other places into that place, migrating to that area and fighting us for something that doesn't even belong to them. There are people there. A quick story. One day my captain got a care package from some local church here in North Carolina, and it had a teddy bear in it. And naturally, captains, what the hell am I going to do with a teddy bear? So we go out on a patrol, and he sees this little girl, so he gives her the teddy bear. That evening, we're coming back on the same pattern. This little girl's sitting right in the middle of the road, holding that teddy bear, just sitting in the middle of the road, Indian style. We couldn't get her to move, flag her out of the way, so we sat down and interpreted. That little girl was sitting on an IED that was meant to kill all of us inside of that convoy. And the size and the magnitude of the 105 Mach rounds that they had embedded in the pavement, it would have annihilated us completely. That little girl saved our life. But you're not going to hear about that on CNN because it doesn't fit their profile.
That is an unbelievable story, and you're right. I haven't heard of such stories. I mean, that's a heart-wrenching, a sentimental, just a real story of how the Iraqis definitely want freedom. They want what we have. And you don't see that. You don't see that on the communist news. CNN. You don't see that on them. You don't see that on there. You don't see that anywhere. All you see is, well, the war's lost. That's all there is to it. I agree. And I agree,
Al
sir.
Sharpton see it as a white man's war. They see it as an oil war. You know something? I've been there. I've hit the ground. I've patrolled nearly every mile of Iraq. The inhabitable areas, the oil refineries, they're all deadline. The only oil refinery that I have ever seen personally that is up and running and working is in Kuwait. And that's not even part of Iraq. That's a completely different sovereignty than Iraq itself. And these people are sitting there just regurgitating what they hear from jackass liberal. So regurgitating everything that they claim to know is something that they've heard from another jackass that they keep regurgitating over and over and over. And like you said before, a perfect example, they will not face the damn truth. You ask them, or if you corner them with a specific question that they know they have to give an answer to, they'll start playing the bounce-back ping-pong game with you.
Of course, and that's liberals for you. I tell you, liberals are the masters of propaganda. You just got to sit back in absolute awe that these liberals just can use such methods of propaganda. You just look at a supporter. Just look at a liberal supporter and ask them to debate you about the issues, and they won't do it because they have been taught to just not only regurgitate propaganda, but they've been taught by their leaders how to twist words, split hairs. A perfect example of one of their liberal leaders, you got Bill Clinton, who turned the Oval Office into the Oral Office and basically redefined the whole concept of sexual relations and oral copulation, and they've reduced it to something like messing around, like making out or something. That's what he's reduced oral copulation to. And thank you very much, Bill Clinton. You've really boosted the morale of our society at this point. And I honestly believe that it's because of his immorality is the reason why you see so much sexual promiscuousness out here. And that's my view.
He had no moral conviction.
Absolutely not.
You know something, personally, my grandmother's been dead for years. But the way I treat every situation that I approach, or the way I attempt to, I'm not perfect by any means. I make mistakes. I ask my wife, she'll tell you. But I try to do things the way I think if my grandmother was sitting right there watching me. That maintains my moral conviction. What I was raised to believe is true and right and wrong, everybody knows the damn difference. But whenever you let that little thing take over, and you just lose that little ounce of morality, because it's a hell of a lot easier to do the wrong thing. I could go out right now. I know plenty of people that I could get the drugs from and turn around and sell them, and I could be riding around in these nice vehicles, but it's just not damn right.
Absolutely right, sir. Absolutely right. And let me tell you something. And I'm telling you, it's starting to look like an option. I know with this bad economy and this illegal immigration problem that has devalued the cost of American labor, I understand that those options look like a viable option just to feed your family. But let me tell you, it's those morals that you're sticking with, sir, is that what makes a man, that it makes character. It makes somebody beyond what the simplistic Nimrods that submit to their own ridiculous inflammation of the senses. that have no conviction of themselves, that have no shame, that are soulless cash whores. That's what separates us that have moral conviction from them. And let me tell you something, it takes a lot of work to be a good moral man, as opposed to going out and being some goddamn deviant. Now, I refuse to be a deviant. I refuse to submit to any of this liberalism that embraces all this deviant activity, that embraces this entitlement generation. I was brought up in an area where you had to work for what you wanted. That's exactly what I did. I've worked 20 damn years to finally get what I've got, and I think that's what the American dream's about, man. It's what it's about. You work, you go out, you live a moral life, you don't break the law, you don't go out here and try to inflict pain on other people for your benefit. That's not what you do. That's not what moral people do. But nope, that's not what the majority of America is anymore, and it's a damn shame.
You're right. I mean, it's gotten to the point, honestly, that me and my wife are going to have to uproot and go somewhere else because they've drained all the jobs around here where we're at. I try to work as damn hard as I can. I've done odd jobs so many times, and I have my associate's degree in graphic arts design. I've done so many things just to try to stay afloat. You know, whenever me and my wife first got together, I was the lead singer of a band, and I still am to a certain extent when I can.
Sure.
And she always thought that I did it because I love being in front of the women or I love the attention. I did it because there was a damn dollar coming in. I race dirt tracks on the weekends in Fayetteville and Dublin, North Carolina. Yeah, I love racing, but I try to race just as damn hard as I can just to make sure that we've got some food to get by on the week. And sometimes, and she doesn't even know it, that I give her the last dollar I got just to make sure that her and my daughter are taken care of during the week. I'm a grown damn man. I work hard for what I got, but sometimes I just damn break down and cry. And that's another thing that they have misconstrued the concept of crying in this country. Something as simple as crying in this country.
I hear you, sir. I'm telling you, and you know, I hear a lot of stories just like yours. And you know what? It doesn't seem to resonate with any of these ridiculous, power-hungry, autocrat politicians that are supposed to be representing our perspective. I don't hear any of them talking about folks like you. You know what I hear them talking about? You know that the talking points that they like to do? Oh, well, I know a woman that's living alone with 4 kids and in a bedroom apartment. You notice that, right? You notice they're always talking about single-parent families having it tough and single-parent this.
Yep.
They never talk about the American family anymore. And you can go back on YouTube on YouTube and look back at all the speeches that have happened in this presidential primary, and you will see that all they're doing is trying to embrace this single-parent family garbage. And you want to know why they're embracing it? Because they are making a systematic transition, and I guarantee you this is going to happen. They're making a transition from democratic republic where the American dream was alive, people could work their asses off to get what they want and live the American lifestyle. Now that's no longer going to be effect. In my view, I think it's going to be taken away here within the next 3 to 4 years. And what's going to happen? What's going to happen is we're going to have a quasi-socialist communist government that's going to ration us out. And you see, I like George W. Bush. I think he's a great president, but I completely disagree with this economic stimulus package. And I'll tell you why. I know a lot of folks need that money. Believe me, I know they do. But that is a slippery slope down an area of semi-borderline communism or socialism, in my view. And anytime the government is giving their people money to spend, that's socialism, man. That ruins the American dream. That ruins the possibility of somebody being born into nothing and making themselves something. That just it completely eliminates it. And I'm telling you, this is exactly where we're headed. We're headed down a socialist communist path, and nobody wants to talk about it. All the Republicans want to talk about is that they're telling people like me, true conservatives, to vote against my principles. And just to turn a blind eye to the fact that John McCain is a damn social liberal. Screw social liberal, he's a damn liberal. They want me to turn a blind eye to it and give him my vote just based on party loyalty. Well, I'm not going to do it because I stand by my principles. I'm not going to oblige myself, and I'm not going to participate in this transition of power out here into a quasi-socialist government. And that's exactly what we're going to have. And it's sad, man. It's really sad, because nobody cares.
That's a perfect example. It's like somebody being in a family, somebody doing something that they know is wrong, and somebody else saying, well, don't say nothing because you know it's going to hurt their feelings. Who gives a shit about their feelings? Get off your ass and do what's right.
That's what I'm saying, and let me tell you, first of all, when I started this show, it was called True Conservative Republican Radio. And as the primaries went on, and I saw how the Republican Party was isolating conservatives. I mean, they weren't giving them the platform. I mean, Fred Thompson, Duncan Hunter, these true conservatives that believe in true conservative principles, that securing the borders, getting these illegal immigrants out of the country, they were suppressed. I mean, they weren't given the spotlight. You know who they were giving the spotlight to? Liberals like John McCain, liberals like Giuliani. I mean, these are liberals, man. I mean, Giuliani he's already had 3 divorces, married one of his cousins. I mean, what the hell, man? What the hell's going on here? What about the border?
Him all the credit just because he happened to be the mayor at the time of 9/11. And personally, they turned 9/11 into a media fiasco. They love that shit. They loved it.
I agree.
Because it gave them a chance to flex their political muscle. That's their new agenda. They enjoy it when something like that happens because they can manipulate it.
And let me tell you something. They've manipulated to the point where, conservatism is the last thing on the Republicans' mind. And what is conservatism? Well, conservatism, pro-life. Believing in the American family, saving the American family, fiscal responsibility, not just throwing money out and spending our damn deficit to a point where it's depleting our American dollar. I mean, that's what it's about. And now you got the Republicans going completely against it. Now, you know what the Republican issue is right now? National security. And that's it. That's the whole premise of the Republican Party at this point. Granted, I believe national security is a big deal. I'm not trying to throw that in the back burner. But right now, at this point in time, when we're trying to implement democracy in the parts of the world that are being suppressed by ruthless dictators and religious zealots, how are we going to go out and implement democracy throughout the international community when we're having democracy being taken away right here in America? And I don't understand that. I don't understand it.
I'm with you.
Hold on, we got another caller here. Caller here. Let's see if they've got something to chime in about here. Caller, you're on the air?
Hi, yes, this is Mr. Long's wife.
Oh, there you go. How you doing?
I had to voice my opinion on some things. I'm doing fine.
Well, let's just go ahead and hear it.
Well, what I'm sick of personally is everybody running around the candidates stating about free health care, how they're going to give out free health care, and they're going to make it where everybody gets health care and provided health care. You can't make health care free. I think they need to get off their ass and work for their health care, just like everybody else does, because nothing in this country is free, number one. Somebody's going to have to pay for it.
Absolutely.
Just like the people out there, you make a living, you go out and work, you can't get help for your children, for insurance or anything else. If you're a common crackhead or a drug addict or a drug dealer, or you have 7 different children by 7 different daddies, then you can get health care and you can get help and you can get all that stuff.
And that's
the taxpayers have to pay for it. And I'm sick of the Democrats stating that the rich gets a tax break. My mom and dad paid out more taxes this year than half them Democrats have ever damn seen and hadn't got a dime back, because they're having to pay for these people out here who are living for free. And the immigrants and mess like that coming over here, and then they turn around and go file their taxes and get back twice as much as the people paying for their shit. And then you've got all these other common folks that are running around claiming, oh, I'm a Christian, but they're letting the damn atheists take over because it's discrimination.
Absolutely. And let me tell you, that just goes back to what I was talking about previous, is that you've got a liberal government system that embraces this activity that you were just suggesting, that an American family that legitimately needs help, okay, that needs help. They don't want to help them because they're too busy helping the illegal immigrant or the person having 7 or 8 kids. These people are getting way more benefits from the government, entitlement programs. I don't believe in welfare. I do believe in helping people, but I call it workfare because everybody gets into a bind. Believe me, I mean, our economy isn't perfect. But, I mean, if somebody needs help, let's help them to the point where it gets them back on their feet and they're out there going to work and trying to fulfill the American dream. But that's not what we have nowadays.
But they think it's free. They think everything is free. Oh, I'm living on the government for free. We got a girl that lives down the road with us that's got a different guy at her house every single night, 3 head of kids, and she's living on HUD and the whole 9 yards, hadn't never worked a damn day in her life. People that actually need school loans to go to school to better themselves so they can work for their family can't get it. Can't get nothing. They have to pay out of pocket, or they have to do this, which is fine. I don't have a problem with paying for nothing out of pocket. But then you got these people that go to school, and it's, oh, when I get my financial aid check, I'm done. They quit school because they've got their financial aid check, and then when the IRS takes their tax income or their earned child credit income that they get for the 7 head of kids that they got, then they're mad.
Yeah, I agree. Believe me, I completely agree.
They're ticked off when there's people that actually want to go to school. Then everybody wants to fuss about my children are living in poverty, but you got all these movie stars and everything else that's running over to China and Korea and everywhere else and adopting kids when we've got American children here who are in orphanage, who are living in poverty and can't hardly feed. You got homeless people living on the street, but they want to run over to China and everywhere else because them children are so pitiful. Everybody needs to take care of their own self.
I agree.
And their own people.
And let me tell you, it makes me personally sick when I see these stars going out to these third world countries thinking they're some sort of humanitarian, going out and adopting these children. It makes me sick because you're right. You're absolutely right. People like Oprah Winfrey, especially going out to, building a school in Africa. There's a bunch of people that need that help right here in America. I mean,
exactly.
How are you going to go out and build some big school? And look, I'm not saying that Africans don't need it. But let me tell you something, Oprah.
She provided them a school, but now they've got a damn commercial where somebody needs to send each child a pack of tampons. She can build them a school, but they can't even damn afford personal products. Something's wrong there. I don't think the American society should have to send personal products over to African children when they've got nicer schools than we've got down here. And the teacher, you want to talk about the teacher people out there who teach and all that stuff, and they want to throw it off. I've got a niece who is a smart, artistic child who is academically gifted and near about genius. And they told my sister-in-law that she needed to be put on ADHD medication. When I was growing up, we didn't have ADHD. We had a belt on our rear ends. That was our medication. And now you got all these parents running out, oh, my child's got ADHD, my child's got ADHD, and now they're drawing a damn disability check for ADHD. A little boy is going to be a little boy, and a little girl is going to be a little girl.
I agree, and let me tell you,
I don't believe in ADHD. I think they need a good old-fashioned switch on their rear end. But now you've got all these, if you beat your child's going to get taken from you, and your child's going to do this, and you're not going to never see your child again.
Not only that, you got the public education system basically perpetuating this on this child. I understand there was a couple of people that lived by me that got we have a Child Protective Services in Texas. They got them involved because the counselors, was talking to their children. I didn't know that, counselors were at random just talk to children nowadays. And because, I don't know, I guess they spanked them one too many times or whatever the case might be. These were younger children. He was about 6, 7 years old. They got CPS involved, and now these people are on some kind of CPS list. They got some damn social worker coming in their home. These are good people, man. These aren't, abusers. These aren't people that are abusing their children. These are just good, hard-working Americans that are trying to shield their children from the social ills of society, and yet you've got these damn liberals in public school that are trying to break up the American family.
Oh, exactly.
If they would whip that kid's ass right the first time, then they wouldn't have this problem.
I agree.
A prime example, New York. You cannot spank your child in New York. My uncle is from upstate Oneonta. He had some friends come down, and when their children were so terrible, when they hit the North Carolina line, the mama told them, I can beat your tail here in North Carolina. No, you can't neither. We can call Child Protective Services. When they got to my aunt's house, she said, what do you do to children here when they act up? My aunt said, mine gets their ass beat.
Exactly, and that's what happened to me when I was growing up, and I turned out to be just fine, and let me tell you.
And
I raised a great family on that mentality as well.
And all these kids around here, they know they can call Child Protective Service.
Yep.
They know they can call them. My sister tried that shit one time, and my dad told her to go right ahead because when the cops left with her, that he was going to beat her ass when she got home. I mean, that is crazy. And all these disabilities that they've come out with, sure, there's mentally retarded ones out there. Sure, they need to be on disability because they can't help themselves. Sure, they might get this and that, but it's like my aunt. My aunt's got a child that's 13 years old that they diagnosed with autism when he was born, and they just found out that he's got Smith-Magenis syndrome. There's only 151 cases. She can't work because if she works, they won't give disability to her mentally retarded child.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Well, I'm going to take this one call here. We got another caller here. Let me go ahead and tell you, 251, you're on the air.
¿Qué pasa, amigo? This is John from Cuba Compagnoni. How you doing tonight?
How you doing, John? I understand you wanted to talk about Barack Obama and the headquarters in Houston?
Yes. You had a very strange situation this week. You had the Barack Obama headquarters in Houston, and they did a interview. It was a grand opening that they were having. And over the main desk, there was a flag of Cuba superimposed with a picture of Che Guevara, the notorious murderer, terrorist, and killer of thousands of people. And,
unbelievable.
The Fox News affiliate didn't even mention that. Like, it didn't say anything. It wasn't until people in the Houston area, Cuban exiles, other Hispanics and Latinos that find this man to be a monstrosity, started to blog and complain that it was actually mentioned, but very briefly. The mainstream media did nothing. The woman who put the flag up is a Cuban woman. She was born in Cuba. She came here. She seems to have a very strange reputation in that area. No one knows really what her angle is. They try to interview her, and she kept on saying, oh, this is ridiculous, da-da-da-da. And the Obama campaign finally came out and said, we have no connection to that flag, but didn't mention what the flag was or who was on the flag, or, complete, I don't want to, sound crazy here, but it was a complete whitewash.
And I've said all along that these people on the left are communists. If that doesn't show, blatant communism, I don't know what does.
Well, this is the thing. You listen to what the man's saying, and then you have campaign workers. I know you can't really control some of the people that volunteer, if they do something horrific. But I guarantee, Ghost, I guarantee you money, and I'm a very cheap man. I watch every penny. I guarantee you money if that would have been in Huckabee's office or if that would have been a Confederate flag in McCain's office or something, buddy, we would not hear the end of this. This would not have no end. They would be, playing this over and over and over and over again, and they would.
Of course they would.
That brings about a point that I mentioned earlier to Ghost earlier in the conversation in the show, that certain groups can get away with more just because of their ethnicity or just because of where they come from. If I get out there and I have a rebel flag posted behind me, my ass is going under the bus. I'm a white male in North Carolina, and they're just going to make very quick work of me. But if that, like you said, has gone up and they try to bring it to attention, they're going to keep dodging the issue. They're going to keep going around it, because if they didn't, they would have to actually admit what they had done.
And I'm very concerned about this commercialization of the figure of Che Guevara. Che Guevara was a ruthless tyrant. This man executed thousands of people just based on pure, political fanaticism. And to sit here and see the commercialization, you've got kids out here wearing Che Guevara shirts. They don't even know who the man is. And they've commercialized this man and put this man on a legendary pedestal. And to hear, you know, and I'm glad you brought this up there, Cuba, that the Barack Obama campaign actually had a Che Guevara flag in their headquarters. It just reinforces the fact what I've been saying all along about people on the left. They're communists. You know, bottom line. And you know, I know that maybe Barack Obama's going to say he can't micromanage his campaign. You know, he's probably going to, you know, kind of shrug his shoulders at the subject matter. But that is very serious. And you're right. I haven't heard about it. I'm really surprised I haven't heard about it. But
Ghost, let me tell you something. Let me tell your listening audience something. Che Guevara was as notorious as they come. Now, forget the Cubans that he killed. Let's not even talk about them. Let's just talk about the Americans. I don't know if you're familiar with how many Americans Che Guevara personally assassinated in La Cabaña prison in Cuba, in Havana. Let me give you a great American, World War II veteran, Korean War veteran. He was head of the American Legion post in Havana, head of the Boy Scout troop in Havana for the Americans. His name was Howard Anderson. Che Guevara personally shot him. But before he shot him, he drained his blood. So he had to be carried in a litter to the firing squad. His daughter is a very famous journalist. She worked for ABC by the name of Bonnie Anderson. And there was a very famous episode when she went to Cuba as part of a delegation, and she met Fidel Castro, and he looked at her, and she said, he goes to her, he said to her, and this is live, you could look this up. He said to her, "You look very familiar." And she said, "Yes, you killed my father." His name was Howard Anderson. You also had another great American hero who fought in the Korean War by the name of William Morgan from Ohio, from Toledo, Ohio, who was a commander of the Cuban Revolutionary Forces that was killed by firing squad by Che Guevara personally. They took him to his death, and as they took him out, he was singing a song as the caissons come rolling along. And when they told him to kneel, he told them, "I kneel for no man but God." And they shot him in the knees. And Che Guevara came. Listen, they shot him in the knees, so he had to kneel. Then Che Guevara came and shot him 3 times in the head. Now, this was in front of a jail full of prisoners. Everybody saw this. So these are just 2 examples of the many that you have of this brutal assassin, this murderer, this person that appears in Houston, Texas, headquarters of the Obama campaign. This is Ghost. Come on, Ghost. I mean, you know my blood is boiling.
Believe me, I mean, I've been boiling because of the left's blatant communist rhetoric that's coming. I mean, free handout health care. I mean, all these government financed packages that they're trying to go ahead and initiate, or not even they're proposing, I should say, to initiate as president. I mean, this just reinforces that fact. Well, and hold on, just 1 second. 910. I know you hung up. Are you back on the line with me?
I'm back with you.
Okay, all right. Go right ahead, and y'all can chime in at any time, by the way.
Listen, if you think health care is expensive now, just wait until it's free.
Just wait until it's free.
Just wait until it's free. Listen, Ghost, if in Cuba they have so-called free health care, you don't see me going to a Cuban doctor. You don't see me getting on a plane going to Cuba.
No, because you don't get the same treatment.
No, you don't get any treatment. In other words,
it's
cheap
just a
treatment.
Right. Cheap services.
If you go to the Division of Motor Vehicles in your home state, or you go pay your taxes, or you go do anything that involves the government, the state government, municipal government, you're going to wait, and you're going to sit, and you're going to wait, and you're going to wait. Just imagine if you have, you're having a heart attack, and they got 50 other people ahead of you, and there's only a limited budget. I'm telling you, Ghost, this is going to be catastrophic. Now, what's even scarier about this is you had Hillary. We're talking about Obama. Let's turn it over to Hillary. You had Hillary get on television, and when I saw this, like, my blood curled. I mean, it really did, because it reminded me of the communist regime that I had grown up in. And she said, well, tell us about your health care program. She's like, well, everybody's going to be covered and blah, blah. She says, well, how are you going to pay for it? She says, well, people are going to be, forced to be in my program. She's like, how? Well, we're going to garnish their wages. Like, they're going to just take your money. They're going to garnish your wages, Ghost. I mean, you have a couple of businesses that get ready for this, buddy. They're going to come and knock on your door. And this is the thing.
I think it's safe that we change our name to Hillary.
Well, what are you going to do when they knock on your door, or there's the government agent, and he says, you have to pay this amount to be covered in this, health care plan, and what do you do? And they asked her, what are you going to do if people don't do it? And she just looked like dazed. What do you mean they're not going to do it? In other words, no matter what the law, it's going to be imposed at the end of a gun. If you don't pay your taxes, they'll take you to jail, or they'll arrest you, or whatever. If you don't pay into this, failed health care scheme, or I don't know what to call it. We have free health care in the United States. It's called the health department. You can go, at least in my county, pay $5, get your tooth pulled. These are doctors that, they work for the city, or they work for the county or the state of Alabama. And that's their job. You have the flu, you can go over there. If you're really poor, you get free health care here. So, I mean, there's no, I don't understand this. You understand what I mean?
I completely agree. I don't understand why, this handout health care has become such a big issue. I mean, does any 910, y'all can both chime in on this. What do y'all think about handout health care?
I don't think it's a good idea. Through my experience with the military, whenever I was injured in Iraq, in a roundabout way, I didn't have to pay for the health care treatment that I received. But you know what? I would have much rather paid for it, because a doctor, all my experiences of going to a public doctor, having to pay through it with my insurance or out of my pocket, I've always received better care than somebody who's just being paid on a salary. I mean, they treat you like you're an animal in there. And that's another thing that a lot of people haven't been brought to their own attention, is how the veterans are being treated in the VA hospitals.
Absolutely.
I would much rather go to a Bodegas County hospital than to go to the VA, and I get that for free, and it's sad.
It's horrible. And you got to think that, we have troops that are coming back completely maimed, disfigured. They have to go through countless hours of rehabilitation. And the stories that I've heard, from amputees, people that have been completely just destroyed by these roadside bombs, to hear the type of treatment that these people are getting is absolutely sick. And we can sit here and continue to think that everything's okay with America. I don't know where America's headed. I mean, does anybody have any idea where we're going? I mean, in my view,
if Hillary or Obama become president, this country will go into a downfall. It will go under, and it will be no more, because the two of them don't know, they don't know what they're doing. They just want everything for free when they know themselves that nothing is for free.
You know what you have to look at? You have to look at the example of what's happening in Venezuela right now, where you have Chavez, who has basically bankrupted the country with all of these social programs, with all of these handouts, and nationalized all the companies, et cetera, et cetera. And what you're having is a massive outflux of capital. You have people closing their businesses because they can't compete. They can't do anything because of the price blockades that they've put on everything. So you can't raise your price even though the cost of your material goes up. So there's no profit incentive.
Unbelievable.
So this is something that you're going to see. And you were talking about the medical care in the military. This is the future. This is like 1984. And if you notice, one of the things I tell my students at the university all the time, I say, listen, words mean things. They're not abstract. They actually mean things. So when somebody says something to you, you better believe them. And they're giving you the basis of a socialist system, which is going to be, has always been a failure in every single country it's been tried. Every single place for the last 150 years since Karl Marx and Engels sat down and wrote this Communist Manifesto, it has been a complete failure. This is a religion. It's I don't even know what to call it. It's like a religion.
Absolutely. I mean, you notice that in every one of these communist states that have erected themselves in the international community, who do they have as idols out there? Marx and Engels.
Yeah,
I mean, they erect huge statues, and of course the dictator that's dictating out there as well. But you also see a lot of homage to Marx and Engels, and big, humongous idols, paintings, the whole nine.
I was talking to a Venezuelan lady yesterday, and she escaped. She escaped from Venezuela. Her son is a proud United States Marine. He joined as soon as he could. He came over here, got his residence or whatever that was, and went straight to the Marine Corps recruiting station. All her 3 sons went and joined to thank this nation for the privilege of being able to come here. And I was speaking to her, and she told me it was just it started slowly, just like it did in Cuba. And then after they silenced everyone that they could silence, or put fear into them by whatever methods, or jailed them, and now it's become what it's become. And this is something that you're seeing here. You're seeing words changing meanings. You're seeing symbols that people don't understand. All of a sudden, you ask the average American. I mean, the Fox News affiliate that took this footage, when they interviewed the people in the office of the Obama campaign, they never mentioned. In other words, even the people in the Fox affiliate didn't say, "Oh, what is that Cuban flag with Che Guevara doing here?" They just walked right by. Which, that's the first thing I would have noticed. I'm like, "Hey, what is that flag of Che Guevara doing here? What are you guys doing here? What is this? What kind of group is this? Is this an Obama group, or is this like the the Communist Party of, Houston? What is this?" No, really, that's the question I would have asked. I mean, what is going on here? But they didn't ask that. The people that were sent out there, they said, "Oh, this is for the Latino community," or whatever, and right there, that's like walking on glass. They have no historical background, so they just took it they took the word of the person. And this is something that's very dangerous, because you talk about this all the time.
Sure.
And this is something that, for someone who's lived it, like myself, it's an abject failure. Like, I'm a child of the revolution. I was born in communist Cuba. I wasn't born before. And I came young. We were able to escape when I was very young. But I remember that place vividly. I still have nightmares. You know how you have, like, dreams of how great it was when you were a kid, or normal people have normal dreams. We don't. We have, like, nightmares. I have my daughter that you know very well. I think I told you this, Ghost. I just shipped her off to boot camp. And I've been in the military, 23 years now, something like that. Got to figure that out. But in the Guard. And I put her in the Guard also, because that's my way of paying back this country that has given me the ability to live in freedom. When I arrived from Cuba, it didn't say at the immigration port, it didn't say, here's your check. It just said, "Welcome to the United States of America, the land of opportunity." That's what it said. I mean, in other words, that's what I remember the sign.
Sure.
And that's something that you're losing here. And you're losing this with the youth, who take everything for granted. One of the things my daughter told me, I got a letter from her today. She writes me every day. She said to me, "Daddy, I took so many things for granted, just like being able to get a McDonald's, and just like, military life. You know what boot camp is like."
Sure.
And I will never look at another chicken McNugget the same again, because that was one of her favorite meals. I said, "Don't worry, I'll buy you something when you get home." But this is the discipline that kids aren't getting. And it goes with the political thing, because you have these kids, and you mentioned this at the beginning, you have them walking around wearing Che Guevara T-shirts, and they have no idea. They have no idea how bloody that man was. Can you imagine somebody walking around with a,
with a Bin Laden shirt?
Yeah, with a Bin Laden shirt, or a Heinrich Himmler shirt from Nazi Germany, or just something completely out of whack. What would be the reaction of somebody looking at that? Do you think you could get away with walking down, Fifth Avenue in New York City with a Bin Laden T-shirt saying how great he is? Are you kidding me?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And especially somebody who's running for president, having their campaign, conduct an interview with that man's image in the background. I mean, like I said, that reinforces what I've been saying all along, and I've taken a lot of criticism from those on the left saying I'm some fanatical imbecile or something when I suggest that these people are communists. If that doesn't prove that these people are communists, I don't know what is.
Well, you know something,
You know what?
Ghost?
That being allowed in let go is only just a little taste of what we have to come if they're allowed in office.
But you know what?
Well, people don't look at the big picture. They look at the free health care. They look at what Hillary and Obama are offering. They don't look at all the other things that Hillary and Obama stand for. Like, they don't believe in the death penalty. I fully support the death penalty.
Sure.
They don't believe in that. They think that a child molester should, just like a woman who her child got sodomized by a man, and this was not the first child that he had sodomized. And he was a deacon of the church, sodomized several little boys and kept getting off. And this woman walked in the courthouse, this mother, and she blew this man's brains out in the courthouse, and they put that mother behind bars, and she died behind bars of cancer for protecting her child from a common criminal who sodomized her 5-year-old little boy. That is what Hillary. That is what Hillary and Obama stand for. They stand for children like mine and yours and everybody else's in this nation. It's okay for them to be molested. It's okay for them to be sodomized. Why should we put somebody in jail? We're not here to judge nobody. No, you're not here to judge nobody, but you're here to set the guidelines that the Lord put in place for you to set. These gays walking around stating that we were born with it. We're not going to hell. I don't know if they're going to hell or not, but I do know that the Bible says if man lay with man, he shall be put to death.
Well, their hell has glitter in it, so I guess it's okay.
Well,
I mean, it's ridiculous what these people stand for. It is absolutely absurd. And when the hurricanes come, I'm so sick of when a natural disaster hits, and it's George Bush's fault. George Bush did that. George Bush did not control that hurricane. They act like this man is sitting in the White House with a steering wheel, steering these natural disasters to where he wants them to hit.
Ms. Long, let me tell
That's
you something
ridiculous.
Let me tell you something about the hurricane. I live here along the coast, and we were warned. We were warned about 4 days before. You have every family here, they tell you have a hurricane kit, get ready, fill up your gas tanks, have water, food. And the problem is, people didn't do it. People didn't do it.
Phrase that we have.
No, listen, I had my roof, part of my roof came off. You didn't see me on the street rioting. You didn't see me robbing the food market. I had supplies here, the men in the neighborhood. One of the things that we did, because there's only 2 entries in here, the police came by, and we told them, what should we do, this and that, and they were like, okay, how many guys are here? Anybody in the military? I raised my hand. A couple of the other guys raised their hands. They're like, okay, if you have weapons, we can't help you. So just, block the road off with 1 car and just do duty, 1 at a time or 2 people at a time, until, we can get all the lights on and the power on, and nobody got robbed in our area. There was no panic like there was in New Orleans, and this area was destroyed.
But you were warned.
Yeah, we
just
were warned
like
about
they
4
were
days
warned.
Yeah,
everybody was
They're
warned.
hard-headed.
Yeah, on Friday, Katrina hit. I remember the first bands reached us here I remember the exact time because I was on the computer, and the lights went off. And it was 8:42 in the morning on Monday. Now, they warned us for anyone who could leave or, had a way to escape or whatever, that there was, on Friday. And then they turned around and, well, the rest of that story, how catastrophic that was. But people just stayed. But one of the things that you have to ask yourself, Ghost, and you have to ask yourself this question, this has nothing to do with any kind of racial anything because I'm a minority myself.
Sure.
The majority of people in New Orleans that got caught in this catastrophe were African Americans.
Exactly, because they've seen a free ride.
Okay, they weren't. I don't know. I guess they had gotten accustomed to the governmental. Some of the poorest areas of New Orleans. The government's going to help us. The government's going to help us. Mind you, there are many poor minority communities along the Gulf Coast. I live in one, but you know what? They're small. So as soon as this is going to hit us on Monday or whenever it's going to hit us, that all the men got together, people, all the churches, the Mormons, the Baptists, everybody was out there with the trucks. They had chainsaws. In other words, we didn't depend in these minority communities that I live in on the government. We depended on ourselves.
Sure.
And you know what? We weren't on television, my friend, because we we had our boats ready. We had, we live in a watery area here, so as soon as the water comes up, it's going to flood. If you live, I live like on a hill thing, so it doesn't flood here. But we were ready for whatever was going to come, and I wasn't going to leave my home because it's hurricane-proof, basically the way it's built. It's not built out of wood.
Sure.
And that's another thing, okay? And, you mentioned the Bible a few minutes ago. It says, I don't know if it's Psalms or where it is. It says, a fool buildeth his house upon the sands. If you know there's a hurricane and you're living in a hurricane zone, buddy, don't build your house out of wood and don't build it in the swamp. Build it out of stone, build it out of brick, and, like, my house is still here. So, I mean, common sense will win every time, folks. This has nothing to do with any kind of racial stereotypes or anything like that. It's just basic common sense.
Of common sense. If we want to talk about common sense, let's break it back down to our Ghost's earlier comment about Bill Clinton referencing sexual conduct and contact. What does that say about Hillary Clinton whenever she's supposed to be the woman who, let's be real, his sexual provider? They have a kid. They know what it is. If he don't know the damn difference between a blowjob and a hole in the ground, how in the hell are we going to trust her to run any political delegation in this country?
Well, what really could
do that, and that's carnal knowledge. Animals know how to frig.
What really concerns me, though, is that we really don't have an option on the right. And I pose this question to both you guys, since y'all are both basically on the same level. Maybe a couple of different issues may separate you guys, but y'all are conservative, Republicans are conservatives somewhere along that line. I mean, McCain. I mean, is this man a legitimate, viable option? I mean, given his record, given the legislation that he's passed, do you think that he'll, continue on with the Democratic Republic that is known as the United States of America? Or do you think that he was going to go down that slippery slope of socialism?
I don't think he's going to take the road less traveled. I think he's going to just tell people what they want to hear, do whatever he can to get voted in, and then go for his own agenda or the agenda of the people that's filling up his pockets.
You know something, Ghost? On my end, this is my view. I believe that for him to become a viable candidate, he has to pick an extreme conservative vice president. And
absolutely.
That will add, hopefully, you have Huckabee, who's still in the race for whatever that's worth, and you have Ron Paul, who's still in the race for whatever that's worth. And maybe when they get to the Republican platform, when they actually do the party platform at the convention, they could have a voice. And this is what I'm hoping for, that whoever he picks as vice president is somebody strong enough that will keep him on the right, as opposed to the way he's been voting the last 10, 15 years, which has been very, very liberal. And something else that came into my mind today, I was looking at the news. What do you think of a ticket? I don't think he's going to pick Romney as a vice, to be honest with you, and I don't see him picking Huckabee, and definitely not Ron Paul. What do you think of him picking somebody like maybe Condoleezza Rice?
That has been an option. That's been rumored around, actually. That would actually counteract what Obama, the momentum Obama's, putting forth there on the left. I think that would completely retard his whole, change and, we need to see a minority president or whatever the rhetoric is backing up the steam of the Obama train, because it's definitely not anything with political substance. That's for sure.
Well, listen, if you talk to somebody that's an Obama supporter, and I was here in election day, I was working the polls, and I said, "Oh, you're going to vote for Obama? Tell me about him. I don't know too much about him." "Oh, he's going to change. He's doing change. He's going to change." I'm like, "And what is his platform?" Oh, and something curious, Ghost. This goes back to the flip-flops. Obama came out publicly, and we posted this on Cuba Compagnoni. He came out publicly a couple of months ago when he was asked, and all the candidates at the time were asked what they would do with the Cuban embargo against the Castro regime. And he said that he would lift the embargo and go meet with Castro, Chavez, Ahmadinejad, all these clowns.
Yeah, I know that.
You know what? They asked him again. He said, when this Che Guevara flag situation came out this week, they asked him the same thing, and he's like, "Oh no, I'm going to keep the embargo." And so, what is it? Is he going to keep it? Is he going to drop it? Is he going to support him? Is he going to go visit Castro? What is he doing? And you have a situation.
Barack Obama's just a puppet.
Well,
and a perfect example is whenever he was down. I can't remember exactly if it was in Alabama or if it was in New Orleans, but you could tell a very, very big difference in just something as simple as the way he talks and the way he carries himself. Whenever he first came out, I didn't pay attention to the color of his skin. I wanted to hear what he had to say. He was a younger guy. The country might need a fresh face. They might not. Who gives a shit? But personally, the guy comes out, and we see him in the northern delegations and the GOP conventions, and he's talking as a well-rounded individual. He's putting on a good show. And then he goes down, and all of a sudden, he's a master of ebonics. He starts saying words like that and this and yo. And, I even heard that come out. What the hell is that?
Well,
we don't need somebody who's going to change with the weather. You need somebody who is a rock.
But you know what that tells you? You know what that tells
you? Build your house on sand.
You know what this tells you? This tells you that he's patronizing. In other words, he doesn't think that we're smart enough here. He doesn't think the minorities like myself are smart enough to see through his charade. And you had the same situation with Hillary Clinton when she came down south, and all of a sudden she got a southern accent like this. You remember that speech that she gave?
I remember.
The worst thing you could possibly do. And you know this as a man of the military. You know this as well as anybody else, and as well as myself as a man of the military. Going around this world, people have a tendency to judge people on the way that they talk. Irregardless, I might speak with a southern accent. It doesn't mean I'm not intelligent. But people discount more people because of the way they talk. Not because of their views or their ideals or the creativity that they possess. And it's honestly ridiculous. He thinks that he can go down there and start talking like these people and get their votes and everything, and it's just completely ridiculous.
And it is very condescending.
Like a jackass.
Yeah, it's
very condescending.
It's very condescending to us that live here. I remember I got together with some of my African-American friends. We were discussing this, and they were like, "What, are you kidding? What does he think we are, a bunch of imbeciles? Why is he talking like that? He doesn't speak like that. Why is Hillary, faking this accent?" People were disturbed. Now, myself, because I came here young and I grew up among the Yankees up in New York City, I picked up the northern accent. But my daughter, listen, she sounds, I don't know what Robert E. Lee sounded like, but let me tell you, she has it. She has that pure, thick as molasses southern twang, and that's just the way she speaks. But it goes back to the liberal socialist view that minorities like myself are stupid. We have to be controlled. We don't have any brains for ourselves. And it also goes back to that socialist northern view of all Southerners are stupid, regardless of race, which is true. That's what they believe up there. I remember when I moved to Alabama. I told people I was moving here. They're like, "You're moving to Alabama? For what? Are you crazy? They're going to hang you. The Klan's going to kill you." I'm like, "Man, don't. Get out of here." But that's what we were taught in schools, and it was a horrific thing. The diseducation that we got in the North against the Southern people, and me being from a man of color from Cuba. We always dealt with Americans, but mostly Southern Americans. In other words, we have more in common with a Southern American than we do, let's say, with somebody from New York. To us, they're like, it's like another planet. We have a lot in common, foods, a lot of the culture is very similar, the old Southern culture.
Sure.
And, you name the food, we probably eat it too. I always kid around with the students. We eat, chicken gizzards and livers and all these things that Southerners eat, except for grits.
You ever had grits?
But there's a form of grits that exists in Cuba that we eat. And, you know, we kid around or whatever, but you have somebody condescending, somebody patronizing, somebody saying, you know, John, you're a minority, you're stupid, and you know what? I'm going to talk to you like if you're an imbecile. And when I hear somebody talk like that to me, I just look at them like, are you kidding? Like, what planet am I on? What country am I living in when you have a leader? And don't tell me that he was just talking, or Hillary was just speaking because it was a Southern audience. I talk to my students all the time. I don't change my accent. My accent doesn't change when I talk. And I let them know, hey, look, I was raised in New York, and this is why I talk like this, and blah, blah, blah. My accent doesn't change. And if my daughter went to New York, her accent's not going to change. She's a Southern girl. So what I'm trying to say is stop patronizing us. And one of the things that you have with, in the situation, let's say Condoleezza Rice or another well-qualified minority member that's conservative, and there are many in the United States that just don't get any voice. Ghost, we were talking about this when I first came on your show.
Sure.
How, the Cuban exiles, people of color, and other people, it's like our voices have been silenced. If you're not a certain view, if you don't have a certain thing, if you hold any kind of conservative view, you're seen as some kind of strange aberration of human nature. They don't interview me on Fox or MSNBC or CNN or any of these shows. Every time they interview somebody from my race, they show some imbecile, some criminal, some, it's nothing ever positive.
And you know that
the trailer park
and
syndrome.
that just feeds, yeah, okay, perfect. Listen, okay, let's take it to the trailer park. When you see a Southerner here in Alabama, we have the Confederate flag issue. And when they interview people from the Confederate flag, I remember one time they were having a Confederate rest ceremony, Confederate Memorial Day. Now, these are the Sons of Confederate Veterans, the Daughters of the United Confederacy, other organizations, historical groups. And they go and they fix the graves, they clean them, they cut the grass, they say a couple of words, they have a priest or a minister say a couple of words, and that's it. So I went, as a historian, and there were a couple of news people there. And man, when they saw me and they saw my skin color and they saw I was there, holy cow. You would have thought they were just all over me. What are your views on this? What do you think of the flag? I said, well, I'm here. I'm enjoying myself. Everybody's been very friendly. I came to learn and, to honor these people that fought to maintain. But doesn't that go against, what do you think of slavery? I said, I don't know. I've never been a slave, except in Cuba. So I don't know,
in a way, they almost expected you to jump out like Tony Montana. Right.
This is I'm just here for a historical thing, blah, blah, blah. And when they realized I wasn't going to give them anything sensational, there was this man, I'm not going to mention his name, who's affiliated with a racist organization, and somehow he infiltrated this ceremony or something. He had this shirt that was very offensive. No teeth. The trash. No, the trash of all trash. This guy. It was. I don't know where they found this guy. And he was screaming and blah blah. Finally, the police had to be called, and they dragged him out of there. But guess what came out on the news that night? It wasn't me, and it wasn't those fine gentlemen over there giving their talk and doing the little prayer for a few minutes. It was this clown.
That's what they used
madness.
To do.
So exactly.
They wanted to perpetuate the thought that is the common view of the people in Alabama.
Yeah, exactly. Every single person. They didn't see it as a historical thing. It's like I told the man, I said, listen, there's all kinds of famous Spanish colonists that are buried in this cemetery. If you'd like, I know where they're buried, I'll take you, I'll tell you about them. But that's not what they wanted to hear. They wanted to hear somebody ranting about the flag and putting other groups down because of it or whatever, and that's not what it
screaming and, making a hoopla about it and that sort of thing.
Exactly. I told the guy, I said, Ghost, I said, listen, are you a Christian? Well, yes, I go to church. I said, okay. Because the Klan burns the Christian cross, that's going to stop you from participating in your religion? Oh, but that's different. I said, what's the difference? What's the difference? They misuse this flag. They burn a cross. So what am I supposed to do? Stop worshiping Jesus and going to church? No, man.
That's interesting that you brought that up because before you came on the show, Ghost and I were having a discussion about Iraq and the things that I saw over there and the things that were never reported. It's as if they seek out the most liberal soldiers they can find And I've seen it happen time and time again. They have these reporters out there, and basically the only thing that they do is they lead questions into pissing off the soldier who already has that Democratic far left mentality into saying things like, well, we're just here after oil, or, the hell with Bush, he's the reason that we're here, he's the reason we're getting killed, and it's not the case.
You know why they're getting killed? You know this. You're getting killed because of Iran, getting killed because of the Al-Qaeda elements, the terrorist groups. You're getting killed because you have, Damascus, you have the Syrians supporting them, you have the Iranians supporting them. And you know what, Ghost? I'm gonna give you a little breaking news here. Maybe you haven't heard about this. Today, guess who was in Havana?
Let me take a guess. Ahmadinejad.
No, sir, but very, very close. A delegation from Iran went to Cuba. You can check this on Google. And they are making some kind of deal for biotechnology. And when I saw that, I said, biotechnology? Like what? Like
yeah,
it
no
didn't
kidding.
say what it was, but that's what that delegation is down there for. Right now, as we speak, they arrived today. They're going to sign some pacts. And God knows what kind of biotechnology Fidel Castro is going to be selling Iran. But whatever it is, it can't be good. I mean, this don't smell right.
That's dangerous.
And, this is a situation, you were talking about the Iraqi catastrophe. That's going to get worse because I really feel...
Putting gasoline into a volcano.
Yeah, this is putting gasoline into a volcano. And what do the Iranians need biotechnology for? For what? To make weapons of what? Anthrax? To do what with? I mean,
of course.
This is scary stuff.
It's very scary.
Ways to spread out NBC.
But you know where I saw
by
this,
NBC, I don't mean the corporation. I mean nuclear, biological, and chemical warfare.
You know where I saw this? It wasn't in the mainstream media.
Yeah, I haven't heard about it.
It wouldn't be.
Well, guess what? It was reported by the government of Cuba. When they have a delegation, the Cuban government always, talks about it in the newspaper.
Sure.
And say, oh, these people came to, worship at Fidel's heels, and look how popular we are, and look at all these delegations from all these countries, and blah, blah, blah. But we learned at a very young age, when you read the Cuban paper, number one, it's worthless. But number two, you have to read, between the triple lines. In other words, if they say the sky is blue, and you're looking up and it's purple, then you know it's purple. You know what I'm saying? I know everything's a lie. So when the communist government
comes out, the same way we can treat the Washington Post.
Right, when the communist government comes out in Cuba and says there's an Iranian delegation and they're going to be doing biotechnology something, bro, every hair on my body stood up because I know what that means.
Absolutely.
The situation with the nuclear plants. If Iran is permitted in the next 2 months when those nuclear centrifuges come online before the November election, if they're permitted to bring them up and there's a Democrat who is elected, there is no way they're ever going to close them down. In other words, if there's going to be an attack, it has to be between now and the election. And it's either going to have to be us or Israel.
Exactly.
Somebody's going to have to take those out.
Exactly.
And you had the thing, Ghost, and you probably read about this. I wanted to get your take on this because it brought me great happiness, man. I always get very happy when I see people get their justice. I can't even pronounce his name. Muganija, I don't even know how to say it.
Yeah. I think his name was Moussaif or something.
Yeah, whatever it is.
That Hezbollah terrorist.
Well, guess what? 183 American Marines could rest now because he was the mastermind behind that.
Yeah, I heard about it. And I'm really glad that they got that bastard because he was before Bin Laden, overtook him as the biggest terrorist. This man was the biggest terrorist on the face of the planet. On
the FBI most wanted list, top 10.
Absolutely, and it's a good thing that this man is no longer breathing air.
You know what? Every single time I hear something like that, he was one of the masterminds between. If you remember that kidnapping where they kidnapped that, they hijacked that plane and they took that Navy SEAL and they beat him to death.
I remember that.
And then they did the bombing at that Jewish center in Argentina. They killed like 200 innocent children that were just, I don't know what they were doing there, but they killed a bunch of innocent people and just worshiping or whatever they were doing. And when I hear about stuff like that, man, it brings me, I know it's going to sound insane to the listeners, but it brings me happiness. It brings me happiness because there's 183 Marine Corps families who could finally get peace that the man who killed their children is
you know something,
in hell or wherever he's at.
That brings about a thought. Whenever they were having a big rise of the contractors from America that were going to Iraq and working for Halliburton or whichever demonic company they were working for, and they were getting captured and they were being beheaded. Another story they won't tell you is that one of the victims that they had found outside of a place called Solomonbach, one of the guys that they had beheaded, and the way that they found him is they took that American, they laid him out in the street, took his decapitated head and forced it between his legs with his face pointing at his crotch, and took the pictures of his family that he had in his wallet and put it in the shape of an upside-down cross on his chest. That's another thing that they will not report from the mainstream media, because it brings about truth and light to what's actually going on over there.
You know something, Ghost? Do you remember 9/11? Obviously.
Sure.
Okay.
Who doesn't?
Okay. The gentleman who's on the line, I don't know your name. I'm sorry.
Mr. Long.
What is it?
Mr. Long.
Mr. Long. When you had 9/11, one of the things that I remember most vividly, and now when you watch 9/11 anything, they never show this. One of the things that the first media crews that arrived did is they were filming up the tower. In other words, they were filming as the plane was burning. And there were people jumping.
Yeah, I remember that.
They were on fire, people jumping from the buildings.
It was a horrific sight.
Horrific sight. And you know what? Now you watch that, and they take them away. I think that every day on every station they have to show that. They have to show those people jumping. They have to show why we're in Iraq or Afghanistan or whatever, regardless of, if you support it or not.
Sure.
This is something that needs to be shown, just like the photo of that man who was beheaded, who was murdered, who was his head was cut off. These things have to be shown because people, I don't know if they're blind, they're insane. You have organizations out there like Berkeley, California, those crazy people over there blocking the Marine Corps recruiter. It just, you look at these things, and these are things that, you either killed them or you didn't. You either did this or you didn't. And why aren't we shown this on television? And
it's the whole political correctness, let's not them this because it may be too harsh, that sort of garbage. That's what you have.
No, that's the reason. That's the reason that they say Ghost. But you know what? Let me tell you something. One of the things that we're going through now, and, we agree on many things, we disagree on a few, but we agree on more than we disagree on, is that what you're having here in the United States and in Europe is not a war between Al-Qaeda. It's not a war between, Osama bin Laden. What you're having is a war between civilizations. The problem is they know this, but we don't. In other words, we haven't realized this yet. And unless the United States and the European powers take action now, this is going to be a crusade. This is something that 1,000 years from now we're still going to be dealing with if we don't nip it in the bud.
It's
one of the happiest days. Yeah, one of the happiest days of my life.
We're supposed to be the most advanced civilization on this planet, and as far as we know, the close universe. And we can't even do something as simple as get along. We've got to bring up things that happen over in a time that no one still exists that could possibly fathom a thought or memory from that point in time.
Exactly. You
know
have
what?
this.
No,
you know what? These
no
guys
one in my family alive is ever on the slave.
There are people.
No one alive now.
Well,
here in America, African Americans have whip cracked across their back. They don't know that pain.
Well, we have a situation.
They want pain.
Now.
Tell them to pick up their rucksack and take their ass across the pond and do something about it. Tell them to go sign up. Tell them to open their voice and stand up for what they know is morally right and correct. Take the road less traveled and do the right thing.
And do the right thing. And you're absolutely right with that. We have to stand up. Like I told you, I shipped off my daughter. I think that was the best thing for her. Not that she was a bad kid or anything, straight A student at the university, et cetera, very popular. But she told me, she's like, Daddy, I want to sign up, I want to go, and I want to do what I can do. I don't want to look back and be able to, when somebody tells me or my grandkids tell me when you're dead, and they're like, hey, what did you and Daddy do? What did you and your Papa do when this happened? Did you just, sit at home and just complain? No. I want her to be able to say, I joined the military, I wore the uniform, I did whatever job I was trained to do to assist. And my father, who came from Cuba, escaping communism, that's what he did too. No matter how simple the job, for people that are listening to the show, you don't have to join the National Guard. You don't have to go into active duty. You could do something as simple as maybe volunteer with your local police department or fire department or EMS. Or you could do something like maybe join the Coast Guard Auxiliary or something that's not necessarily military but assists, the common good. You don't have to go and join the Special Forces. There's ways to serve America and your fellow man.
Absolutely.
If more people, I couldn't agree with you more, Cuba. If more people would take the Army's, the core values of the acronym leadership, loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage, and apply it to their lives, and like you said, just do something, then this will be a completely different world that we live in.
Something goes. You want to hear a funny story? And Mr. Long, you want to hear a funny story? When my granduncle, they came here as adventurers. Back in the days, nobody came from Cuba. There was no reason to leave Cuba for anything, As a matter of fact, there were more Americans living in Cuba in 1959 than there were Cubans living in the United States. Most people don't know that. It's just a historical fact. But my granduncles got it into their head because my great-grandfather he worked for the United Fruit Company in Cuba. And they did dealings with New York every day and blah, blah, blah. They spoke English. They learned English. And his sons decided, to be adventurers, and they arrived here. Now, hold on to your pants. They arrived here December 5th, 1941. 2 days later, you have Pearl Harbor, and they looked at each other. They said, hey, what the hell? And they went ahead and signed up for the United States military, even though they were Cuban citizens. They just showed up and said, hey, we want to join, and they're like, sure, we'll take you. If you're willing to fight, we'll take whoever's willing to fight.
Sure.
Now, those rules, and they served honorably until the end of the war, those rules that existed then do not exist now. There are many immigrants that would like to come to the United States who would love the opportunity to serve, who would love to join the Marine Corps for 6 years or whatever the contract is, or they would love to do something like that. And I think our borders should be, our immigration, I think there should be some kind of federal law that does not exist now, that if anybody wants to come here to this country and they want to serve in the military, after X amount of years, they could apply for residence and from their citizenship.
I agree. I completely, wholeheartedly agree with that.
If they're willing to serve, they're willing to wear the uniform, they're willing to go to Afghanistan or Iraq or wherever need be to protect this flag and to protect this land, then they should be given, residency or, then they could work out a citizenship plan or however that works. And you have so many Cuban exiles that join the military here. I mean, that's one of the first things that they do because we're different. We're different from the other people that come here. We're under a program known as the Cuban Readjustment Act, and that was passed by Congress in 1964, which basically says if you make it to American soil, you could stay.
Sure.
Now, as a political immigrant, as a political exile. Now, what that did was it permitted all of these people, including one of the grandsons of one of the former presidents of Cuba, to serve in Vietnam, to serve in all the conflicts. And I remember my mother, when I was a boy, she would always tell me, she's like, when you get old enough, you have to join the military to help protect the freedoms that we've been able to enjoy under this nation. Because I'm too old to do it. I can't join the military, but you can. Because I have sisters. I don't have any other brothers. So regardless, from a very young age, that was put in my head. And from a very young age, I put it in my daughter's head. I said, as soon as you're old enough, you're 18 years old, I'm going to sign you up if you want to go, or if you have your choice of Air Force, Marines, the Coast Guard, whatever, something. You're going to go because Daddy did it, and my grandma would have done it if she would have been able to. So
sure.
You're going. And this is something that I think that needs to be maybe proposed in Congress or something like that. I'm not talking about a foreign legion like they have in France or in Spain.
Sure.
I'm talking about if you're willing to wear the colors, the uniforms of this nation, you should have some kind of preferential immigration status. I'd sign them all up if it was up to me. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of people that would take advantage of that.
And, you know, I definitely wholeheartedly agree with that. I actually made a couple of comments about what you just specifically said many shows ago. And I'm for anybody that wants to spill blood for this country. But I tell you what, John, we got about 50 seconds left. You want to let everybody know where to find you on BTR?
The show is called Cuba Compagnoni. It's Sundays, 4 p.m. Central Time from 4 to 6. Check us out. And Ghost, you're always welcome to participate with us.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
God bless you.
Thank you. And we lost Mr. Long. I wanted to thank him as well for bringing on some pretty good conversation. Thank his better half, his wife. Thank you very much for participating. This has just been an impromptu edition of True Conservative Radio. We were trying to make up for Friday's show, which was supposed to be at 9 p.m., but some things came awry, and we just didn't get a hold of it. So thank everybody for tuning in. Long live the conservative movement. God bless all of you. God bless America, and death to feminism. Thank you all very much.
Blog Talk Radio.
Boar's Head is bringing a slice of Japan to the deli. Introducing Boar's Head Ichiban Teriyaki-style chicken. Tender, slow-roasted chicken breast, coated in our signature teriyaki glaze, where ginger, garlic, and a hint of brown sugar meet for a flavor that's both sweet and savory. New Boar's Head Ichiban Teriyaki-style chicken. The bold flavor of Japan. Now at the deli. Only from Boar's Head. Compromise elsewhere.